Hey, what's going on, guys, and welcome to another episode of Building on WordPress. My name is Josh Donnelly, and as the name says, I love building on WordPress. Today's video, we are going to take a look at how to build another mini app just using some fundamental plugins and WordPress core. Now, this is actually a real-world scenario. I had a client come to me, and they had a very specific use case, and we were able to build the entire thing using nothing more than what we're going to take a look at here today. So, what is this app, and how does it work? Well, let's do a little bit of explanation. This is just a stock image here, but let's go ahead and use it for the sake of example. Now, you have a restaurant, and you have people coming in and out of that restaurant who are Door Dashers and Uber Eats drivers, etc., etc. Now, they're running in and they're picking up orders for their pickup person's name, right? So Joe is a delivery driver, and he walks in the door, and he is picking up an order for Susan, right? Now, those orders are ready, and maybe they are over here, like in some queues. And the staff wants to easily just identify, Bill's order is in cube 1, John's order is in cube 2, Susie's order is in cube 3, etc., etc. So they want to display those on a TV screen. So maybe they've got a TV screen here and it shows the cubes and it lists out whose order is in which cube so that when the delivery drivers run in, all they need to do is match a cube to whoever their delivery client is and they can grab that order and run. So how do we build something like this that the staff can manage from the back of house, and how do we do so super simply? So that takes us back to WordPress. So what we're going to do is take a look at how to do this from start to finish. So I promise you this is a super simple process. This is actually not really building a quote-unquote website. This is a single page application that displays which cube is holding which person's order and is manageable by the staff on the back end. So let's take a look at how we build something like this out. So here we are in the back end of WordPress, and this is just a vanilla install that I just did today, so there really isn't anything on this site just yet. And so we're going to start from adding the plugins, adding our theme even, and then getting into customizing and setting things up. So as you guys know, I am a huge fan of the Pro Framework theme by ThemeCo, which includes the Cornerstone Builder. So we're going to go ahead and install that now. We're going to jump over to Appearance, jump into Themes, click on Add New, and from here we're going to click on Upload Theme. Now you could click Choose File, but I actually have this ready right here, so we're just going to drag and drop and click Install. Now this is going to run its course while it's installing the theme, and it should take us to the registration page momentarily. Perfect. So now we'll go ahead and click on Activate, and we do need to register our license for this theme. So we're going to go ahead and click that here, and while that is verifying the license, you'll see that it's going to actually open up our access to the bundled extension library. And this is great because there's some great plugins that are included with Pro Theme. In my opinion, at the top of that list is ACF Pro. So we can actually install that and click on Activate. With that installed, we're going to actually add one more plugin, which just sort of enhances what we can do with ACF Pro, and that is ACF Extended. So let's go ahead and type in ACF Extended here in our plugin search, and it's going to be this first one that shows up right here, which there is a pro version of this as well, but you can get away using the free one for our example today. Now, we'll go ahead and activate this. And what we're doing with ACF Extended, you could actually do with just a little bit of PHP, but I'm just doing this so that you can kind of see how easy it is to set all of this up. So what did this do? Well, I'm actually going to go ahead and deactivate Extended for just a moment here, and you'll notice that under Custom Fields, we have access to our field groups. This is where we can create groups of meta fields that we want to add to different things. We have Add New, and we have Tools, but we want to actually add some options pages. We are going to actually activate this here. And with that activated, coming into custom fields, you'll now notice we have a lot more items here. So it just extends the uses of ACF Pro. So we're going to come in here, we're going to click on options page, and we're going to create this page. So we'll just come in here and we'll just give this some sort of name. We'll call this order pickup settings. And then our menu slug, maybe we just call this order settings, and menu title order settings. And the rest of this, for the most part, we can just leave as is. You might want update to say save or whatever, but I think this is pretty good. We'll go ahead and click update. And you'll notice that when this refreshes, we now have order settings as an options page right here in our WordPress left-hand menu. But if we go ahead and click on that, there is nothing there. And that's because we haven't assigned anything to this yet. So now we want to create our cubes, right? So what we're going to do is come back into custom fields, and we are going to add a field group. Now we'll call this field group order pickup fields. And we're going to actually set this up as a group, which actually appears right off screen here. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. And we're going to title this. So let's call this order shelf 1. So this is going to be on like the first shelf in the restaurant. And so now we want to add in our grouped fields here which fields should show up for each one of our shelves. So in this case, shelf 1. So we're going to add fields, and we're going to actually add 3 fields, and you'll see why in a moment. The first field we're going to add is a true false, and this is whether there is an order that is ready for pickup or is it just an empty shelf right now. So we got a true false. We'll call this shelf status, and then under presentation here, we'll click on stylized UI, and we'll call this off, which is already done here, but you could edit that if you wanted to, and on. All right, so we got on and off, whether the shelf status is on or off. We're going to add another field that's a text field. We'll call this order name, and we could do one more. This could be arbitrary, but let's call this one order number. Okay, so we got 2 text fields and a status field. Now, we only want these text fields to show up if the order status is set to on. So we're going to come over to each one of our order name and order number fields, click on conditional logic, turn on our conditional logic here, and say if shelf status is equal to checked, then show this here. Go to the order number and we'll do the same thing, and we are good to go. Now, we're going to duplicate this in a moment, but we got shelf 1 set up. Let's come down here, and under post type, we actually want to go further down the page. And again, you can't see this here, but I've got options page down at the bottom. So I'm going to select that so it says options page is equal to, and we currently only have one options page, so it knows that our options page is order pickup settings. So we got that set here. Now, we have a lot of work done already, so let's just go ahead and save first and foremost, and just make sure that our order shelf 1 is showing up properly. So let's jump into our order settings, and there we go. Order shelf 1 is showing up, and when I click on that, we get our order name, order number, and then we can turn it back off again. So that's great. Now, for the sake of our example, this restaurant has 4 shelves, so let's jump back into our custom fields here. We'll go ahead and click leave, jump into our order pickup fields, and we're back to where we were. We're just going to click on duplicate here, and that'll duplicate the field. It'll even add a 2 for us here and a 2 here, so we're pretty good to go. Let's close that, click duplicate again, close that, and click duplicate again. There we go. So we have shelf 1, shelf 2, shelf 3, and shelf 4. Let's go ahead and save this, jump back into our order settings, and there we have our 4 shelves. Now, let's give this a test. Let's go into shelf 3 here and type in John Doe, order number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll go ahead and save. So this right here is what the back of house team is going to be utilizing. Now let's create what the front of house sees on the TV screen. And we're going to do all of that in the Cornerstone Builder. So follow along with me here. We're going to click on Cornerstone and launch that. And as I mentioned, this is a brand new install, so I'm actually going to set up my workspace just to my liking, which is workspace left here. And I like the inset preview. And I turn the rich text editor off in most cases. So we'll go ahead and do that. We'll click on this plus here and add a new page. Now, because this is a single page site, we don't need a navigation or anything like that. So we're going to actually set our page template to no container, no header, and no footer. This is just seen on the TV screen. No one's navigating this site. We'll go ahead and set the status to publish, and we'll title our page order pickup page. So we got that set up. We'll go ahead and save. Now we get to start building this page and what it looks like. And as you guys know, I always say this, but the designs here are just opinionated quick styles that we're throwing together. Obviously, you can sort of abstract these concepts and come up with some of your own fun designs. But we know that there are 4 shelves to choose from. So maybe we have something on screen like this. And let's go ahead and start building out each one of these shelves. So we're actually going to pipe in our data individually. You could use loopers and consumers if you wanted to, but because this is a static page, I'm going to have a little more control over it, so I'm going to manually wire this up. So shelf 1 here, we might have a headline, and then maybe we have some subtext below that for the order number. Maybe we actually want that order number to be up top for whatever reason, so we might click placement before, which puts the subheadline up top here. And maybe that subheadline is all caps here just to sort of differentiate it a little bit. We'd probably want the order name to be a little bolder and a little bit more separated. So we'll jump down to our primary text here. We'll make this bold, and maybe we'll make this, 1.25 M's, something like that. Maybe a little bigger. Let's go 1.5. That's pretty good. Now there's a little bit of separation there, right? Now, as you guys know, I'm a huge fan of padding. I think it adds breathability to design. So we're going to click on column 1 here. We're going to come down to padding and enable that. I'm going to add 3 M's of padding and link them. So it's just all around 3 M's of padding, and that's looking pretty good. Now we want to start wiring this up to our first data piece. Now, because this is the very first one here, I'm going to come back over here, turn on shelf 1, and put in Susie Doe 54321 and update. So I'm kind of working on this one here, order shelf 1. So how do we wire this up? Well, first let's click on our headline and let's jump into, this is the primary text area here. And so in that area, that's where we want the person's name. So we're going to click on our dynamic content here. We're going to type in ACF and scroll down to option field, which we have here. We can click on that. And now we can add in our option field keys. Well, what is that? Well, if we jump back over here and we go to our custom fields, you'll notice that within order pickup, we have an initial key for the group, which is order underscore shelf underscore 1. Okay. But then we have fields, which are shelf status, order name, order number. So we're going to build those out. So this is shelf 1. So we're going to start with this part here, order underscore shelf underscore 1. And then we want to specifically access the order name. So that would then be order name. So we're going to add, in addition to this, that's the group underscore order underscore name. Now we're grabbing the order name and we should see Susie Doe. Perfect. That's wired up and that's looking good. Now we're going to do the same thing for our subheadline here. We'll come in here. We could just paste this and change our values, but I'm actually going to do it this way just so you guys can see the process again here. Click on options field. We'll type in order shelf 1 underscore order number. And that should be 54321. And there we go. We see it there. So it's piped through. And then the final thing we want to do, so we always want all 4 of these visible because they each correlate to a shelf in the restaurant, right? So we wouldn't want this whole column to disappear because then this one would look like it's shelf 1 because it would shift over. So we always want the placement here, but we don't always want it to show data. So we're going to click on this. We're going to go into customize on that headline. We're going to add conditional logic, and we are going to set this to number. Within that number expression, we are going to search for our ACF field, click on option field, and enter the key order shelf 1 underscore shelf status. So if the shelf status toggle here is set to on, we want it to show. So on is 1, off is 0. So we'll click plus. If shelf status equals 1, I want this to show. Okay, that's perfect. So we got this set up. I'm going to just copy this. So we'll go copy, and we will paste, paste, and paste. Now, right now, these are all referencing field 1 because I manually wired these up. But we can easily come in here, and we're just going to change our number. We know this one is going to reference shelf 2, and nothing's showing yet. And this is referencing shelf 2, and our conditional logic is also referencing shelf 2. So we want to make sure we change those in all of these places. Same thing here. We're going to click, change this to shelf 3. We're going to change this to shelf 3. And we're going to change our conditional logic here to shelf 3. And then finally, we'll click here and we'll change shelf 4, subheadline, shelf 4, and conditional logic, shelf 4. All right, so we got that wired up. We have 2 empty shelves because their status is currently off. So the next thing we want to do is make sure that this design here is filling up the TV screen in our restaurant. So I'm going to select the section here and I'm going to go to customize. And there are many different ways that you could go about doing this. You could probably get a lot more precise, but simply put, I'm going to come into element CSS. I'm going to type in $EL to target this specific section, curly brackets, and then I'm going to type in min height colon, and maybe we make this, I don't know, like 100 viewport height, semicolon. Now our section takes up the full height here, so whatever designs we had in here, whatever, filling up the full TV screen. You could add padding up top to center this or whatever, but I think this is looking pretty good. So let's go ahead and jump back to the back end here. And because we want this to be simple for our client, we're actually going to come into reading. We're going to go to a static page for our home page and set that to our order pickup page. Now let's go ahead and check this all out on the front end. So here we have Susie Doe, empty, John Doe, empty. We jump in here to our order settings and we turn on shelf status for shelf 2 and we type in Timmy B 55555 and we update, and we come over here to the front end and we refresh, and there's Timmy B showing up. So this is all great if somebody is manually refreshing the page, but as you can imagine, a restaurant gets busy and people aren't necessarily refreshing the page that is on the TV screen every few minutes just to see if there's new data. So how do we tell this page to do that on its own? Well, it's actually super simple. We can do it with a little bit of code added to our functions.php file, but we always want to make sure that we're doing this in a child theme. So let's jump to the back end of WordPress here. We're going to go back into Appearance, Themes. ThemeCo makes this super easy with their Pro theme. They have a pre-built child theme for it. So we're just going to click Upload Theme, grab the Pro child theme, pop it in here, and install. This makes things super easy. The reason we do this with child themes is the way child themes are configured when your main theme updates itself. So in my case, Pro, it'll override any customizations we've made inside of the Pro parent theme, because that's what happens. Every time there's a new theme update, it overrides these files here. But if you have a child theme, you can make updates inside of the child theme that are respected still when a new parent theme is updated. So we always make our functions.php changes inside of a child theme. Now, normally you'd want to go through and do this via FTP or something like that, but I'm just going to do this through the theme file editor here. So we have our child theme active. We're going to click on theme file editor. We're going to open this up here and make sure that we have our Pro child theme selected here. We're then going to jump down to our functions.php file, and under additional functions, we're going to paste our add meta refresh in here. And this is basically going to say, in our case, it's adding a refresh of the browser screen that's up on the TV every 30 seconds. You could change this to 60 seconds or whatever, but I think 30 is pretty good for our example here. And we're going to go ahead and click update. So now with a little bit of magic, I've got a split screen here so that we can do our editing and see how this works. On the right-hand side, I'm going to refresh this once so that it's now pulling through our new function that we added. On the left-hand side here, I'm going to jump back into our little editor here, and I'm going to try turning off shelf 1 and click update. And I'm not refreshing now on the right-hand side of the screen. Now we might have to wait awkwardly like 30 seconds here, but let's go ahead and see if shelf 1, where it says Susie Doe, disappears when our 30-second mark is hit. And there we have it. It went and checked. After 30 seconds, shelf 1 was turned off, and so it disappears. Now, if I were to turn shelf 1 back on, turn shelf 4 on, and type in Billy, Bob, order 54123, and update this, now all 4 shelves should be filled in with some sort of data in some way, shape, or form. Again, I'm not hitting anything on my keyboard here. I am just waiting. Let's go ahead and see if the TV screen session on the right-hand side updates itself on its own. And there you have it. You can see, as I was talking even, it now says Billy Bob on the right-hand side. So this is now fully functional. Our client's team can come in here and update things, turn them on and off, and update whose order is on which shelf. And on the right-hand side, we're then seeing that updated. But how do we make this look a little better than it does? Well, let's go ahead and just get back to our single screen session here. So here we are in the back end, but we want to make this experience look a lot less WordPressy and a little more app-like for our client here, right? This isn't a real website at all. It is an application. So they really don't need access to this. They're not posting new pages. They're not creating blog posts. They're not adding plugins, et cetera, et cetera. So what do we do? Well, we're going to jump into our plugins and click Add New. I'll go ahead and leave this here. Over here, we are going to search for UiPress. We are simply going to download the light version here to start. You've probably seen my other video on this being the future of WordPress, which I've linked to down below. I would definitely check that out. But I'm also going to actually, on top of the light version here, install the Pro version. So we're going to go ahead and activate that. Then we're going to click on add new. We're going to click upload plugin, and where it says choose file, I'm just going to drag my file right onto that and click install. I'm going to go ahead and click activate on UiPress Pro, and there we go. In our settings, we're going to jump down to the UI builder, and we could do the setup wizard, but this is going to be a simple setup, so let's just go new template here. We're going to do a blank canvas. I'm going to go ahead and register this so I have access to all of my features here. And now that is registered. So we've started with a blank canvas here. Let's go ahead and jump over to our library of templates, and we can pick one of these, or we could literally build something from scratch. But I think this one is pretty good. We're really not going to have much of a left-hand menu at all, but let's go ahead and just choose this for the sake of example. We'll add this and replace our current layout, and that's looking pretty good. Now, because this isn't really something where they need search, we're going to go ahead and click on this, and we'll go ahead and delete our search. Now, we really don't need this full screen either, so let's go ahead and click on that and delete it, and we'll go ahead and refresh that. The home, that's good. That jumps them out to the front end if they needed to. This is their account details. I think that's looking pretty good. On the left-hand side here, if there were some things you wanted to leave available to them, like adding new users, etc., you could do that. We are actually going to disable menu auto update. So if we were to add plugins to this in the future, they're not going to automatically show up in this specific menu here. And then for the sake of this example, we're also going to go ahead and hide our menu icons. Now, because we don't need all of this for this user, we can then open up our menu editor and just begin turning things off. Like they don't need access to the dashboard. They probably don't need access to Pro or Cornerstone or Post because there's no blog, there's no portfolio. We can turn off media. Maybe they need access to media. So we'll go ahead and leave media on for some reason. Pages will turn off. Comments they don't need. Maybe appearance because it's a functional thing. So we'll go ahead and leave that. Plugins we don't need. Users, they might need to add new people. We'll go ahead and turn this off. Settings will turn off. Custom fields. And then order settings is the one that we actually want to leave on. So we're going to pull that one and move it up to the top because that is the primary function of this entire tool for this user. I think that's good. We'll go ahead and click save, and we will refresh this here. And now you'll see we have a much simpler navigation on the left side. Now we could get into styling that some more, but I think that's looking pretty good. Now, if we were to get into just the main area here under our global settings, we can come in here and make this active. So we'll go ahead and do that. So because we still need to make some edits and changes to this, we want to exclude ourselves from this. So we're going to basically say that this does not apply. So excludes the administrator role. So we'll go ahead and pop that in there. So we've got all of that set up. One thing that I forgot to mention is we do want to jump back over to our global settings here and make sure that we have the applies to field set as well. And we set that to something, in our case, I think editor works best. So let's set that to editor. We'll go ahead and save. Now I've created a demo user account here already. So let's go ahead and log in as that user and see what our experience looks like. We'll log out, we'll log in. And there we have it. It loads up. It looks really nice. They have access to the order settings here. They also can access some of the other things that we enabled for them on the left-hand menu here. They could click on library and it loads up the media library, which we have nothing in yet, but they can jump over to that order settings, turn things on and off, update fields, click update here. And if they were to view this on the front end, we can click this little home button here. Jump into the front end, you'll see there's our update field. So this is all pushing out to the TV on the front end. And there we have it. This is a fully functioning, simple web application that all takes place in the browser and refreshes every 30 seconds to check the database. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you've taken this concept and applied it to your own projects, I'd love to see those. Leave that in the comments below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.